Hey there. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to talk a little bit, and maybe some of you can relate with this a little bit. I went through breast cancer back in 2019, and I want to talk a little bit about how that changed me. So, I have never been a huge fan of doctors to begin with. Not that I think doctors are bad people or anything, I just don't like being poked and prodded at. I don't go to the doctor unless there is an absolute reason for me to be there. And um, every time I went in for a mammogram after 40 or whatever, they always were like, okay, now we need to do an ultrasound. Now we need to do a biopsy because apparently I got lumpy boobs. I don't know, but they always had to be poking and prodding at me and I don't like it. So this time when this happened in 2019 and they says, well, you got to come back in for an ultrasound. Well, now we got to do a biopsy. I'm just like, same old, you know. But it was different this time. This time I got another call back. And I don't know why I didn't think it was a problem. I mean, I went to the appointment by myself. I wasn't thinking I was going to get much, I don't know what I was thinking. You would think that after a biopsy and they call you and they want to give you the results in person, it's going to be bad news. But I wasn't thinking that. I try to be optimistic. But, when the nurse told me, you've got cancer, I don't know if I really heard anything that she said after that. That's a moment in your life that changes you. And I had already gone through liver failure the year before where I was in the hospital for 10 days and they thought I was going to die. I mean, my kids were flipping a coin to see who was going to donate half their liver to me. They ended up getting it under control and I'm all healthy and good now. But now cancer, and I'm like, what the heck, man? You turn 50, the check engine light comes on a lot more than it used to. And I don't know if I really heard anything she was saying after that. And I didn't cry. I took all the, they gave you binders of information to take home with you to read on and support groups and all the things. And I went home and I called my kids and I told them, and they really freaked out, especially my youngest one. She's kind of a WebMD specialist and she gets worked up over health issues and she was really upset. Well, then we had to make an appointment to go see the oncologist. So we met with him and the plan of attack was that we were going to do surgery first. I think I had some scans or something in between, but they were going to do surgery first, then chemo, then radiation, and then more chemo, if needed, kind of a thing, on a needed basis. And I met with the surgeon, and I absolutely loved him. He was so sweet, and he explained everything. I mean, he spent like an hour and a half with me, and we just talked about it, and my daughter was with me, and we got all our questions answered, and I was feeling pretty good about it. And then just as I came out of the appointment with him, one of the nurses grabbed me and let me know that my insurance was not accepted by the hospital because something to do, I was on one of those co-op insurance things because I've been self-employed my whole life, so I'm always paying for my own insurance. And so that was like, yeah, of course it's not. But they were able to get me hooked up with insurance and that kind of thing that would work. And so then it was just, hurry up and wait, sit around and wait. They told me that this was a very aggressive cancer. It was growing at a 60% rate, that they needed to jump on this right away. But yet weeks went by with nothing happening. And that was stressful, because you're sitting there thinking, am I sitting here dying right now? What's So I went in for the surgery. Got that done. Everything went great. And when I came out and came in for my follow-up appointment, the surgeon, who I trusted, he was very informative. He told me straight up, he says, we got it. We got it all. There is no cancer. He says the margins were clear, meaning, when they cut the piece out, there was nothing in the margins. There's nothing in the lymph nodes. We biopsied those. You're great. You're golden. So this is what is in my soul. This is what is in my heart. I am cancer free. Dodged a bullet. So now I go back to meet with the oncologist again, and my daughters are with me. And the oncologist, well, first I met with one oncologist who later I felt differently about, but at the time I did not like her. She was very negative. She was giving me all the woe is me stuff, and I am not that person. And so I switched oncologists, and I ended up going with a guy, an older guy that had been doing it forever, and he was a little more to the point. And when we met with him, he told me, he says, okay, now we're going to do chemo. You're going to have 12 rounds. It's pretty aggressive, but that's what we feel we should do. And the first thing out of my mouth was, why? I'm cancer free. And he was like, well, just in case, if this comes back, it'll kill you, man. We got to make sure we get it. I said, but the surgeon said I'm cancer free. Why do we have to do chemo? And he said, I think it's what's best. And of course, I've got my two, 30-year-old daughters sitting here in tears, telling me not to argue. Mom, we want you around. We don't want you to die early. Come on, just listen. Don't be so stubborn. So I agreed to do the chemo. Well, I did the first round. Didn't feel so hot afterwards, but it is what it is. Did the second round. My hair fell out. Now I'm doing a round every week. Did the third round. Now I'm bald. I feel like shit. I'm barely able to function the week between the chemo and the next chemo. I'm just weak. I'm tired. Do the fourth round. Now I've developed pussy blisters on my head. My eyes are dark. I'm hollow looking, like lifeless looking. I look like a zombie. I feel like a zombie. I have not seen the oncologist since that first appointment, because when you go in for your treatment, the nurses do it. And then you only see the doctor every few times. Well, when I came in for my fifth round, it was time to see the doctor again. So sick, barely can make it in there. He looks at me and he just says, oh, whew, you're done. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we're not doing anymore. It's killing you. I'm like, you think? You think this chemo that we're doing just in case is basically destroying my brain and my mind? I couldn't think straight, the whole thing. So they stopped the chemo. Then I'm told, well, now we're going to do radiation. And I said, why? Why? We just did chemo that almost killed me, that I don't think I needed. Now you want to do radiation? And they're like, well, just in case, especially seeing how we couldn't do all the chemo we wanted to do, you really need to do this radiation. It'll be very pinpointed. It'll be easy. You just go in every morning and you'll be done. 30 rounds of radiation. And again, my daughters are sitting there. Mom, don't be stubborn. You're young. You're only 50. Don't let this take you out, do what they're saying. So I did 30 rounds of radiation. Now, I will say the radiation was a walk in the park next to the chemo. I would go in the morning. I'd have my radiation. I'd go to work. I was tired. Yeah, I had a little bit of a sunburn, the whole thing, but it was a walk in the park next to what the chemo did to me. So I get through the radiation. I'm thinking, good, I'm done. Whew. Done with this chapter. Go back in to see the oncologist, because he's kind of heading up the crew. And he tells me, okay, so now we've got that done. You handled it pretty well. We've got this other chemo we want to put you on for a year, but you only have to do it every 3 weeks. It's not as strong as the other stuff. And I just stopped him in his tracks. And I said, now this time my daughters were not with me. I said, what do you mean you want to do more chemo? You almost killed me with the first round. Then you made me do radiation that I don't believe I needed. Now you want to pump me full of more poison? And he says, well, this cancer ain't nothing to mess with. He says, I'll tell you right now. And he was kind of ornery, like almost mad at me. He said, if you don't do this, there is a 20% chance this cancer will come back, but it's going to come back someplace different and it's going to kill you. And I sat there quiet for a minute. And I looked him in the eye and I said, you know what I just heard? I heard it's an 80% chance that it won't. And I like those odds better. And I got up and I walked out. I never saw him again. He's retired since then. And I've been cancer-free for almost 6 years. And that really changed me as far as trusting doctors. It made me even less trustworthy of doctors, because I felt like And then, of course, you go down the rabbit hole of how chemo is the most profitable, treatment and medicine and blah, 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 blah. And I just felt like I had been a victim of the American medical system, the machine, that my best interest wasn't at heart. It was how much money can we make off of this patient? Now, I finished up all my treatments at the end of 2019, like in November, December. In March of 2020, on the exact same day that they shut down my business because of the pandemic, my 30-year-old daughter was diagnosed with the exact same cancer. And so here's her story. Like I said, she's WebMD. She's a little bit of a hypochondriac. I love you, baby. Don't think that's bad. I mean, she is very self-aware. And the moment I was diagnosed, she wanted to get a mammogram. She wanted to make sure she didn't have cancer. We're both in the same field. We're both hairstylists, and hairstylists are about a 30% chance more of getting cancer than other people just because of the chemicals and stuff. So she was nervous. She wanted a mammogram. They wouldn't give her one. So the whole year I was going through my treatments, she was trying to get a mammogram. She was checking herself and doing all that because she was just really nervous. She had this gut feeling that she had it too. And she finally got them to do a mammogram because she found a lump herself. And she was diagnosed on the day they shut down the salon, just before her 30th birthday. She was diagnosed with the exact same cancer, only instead of it being a little tiny spot like I had, hers was like 5 times the size because she probably had it at the same time I was diagnosed and they wouldn't diagnose her. And again, the medical system, rather than the insurance company spend the money to give her a mammogram, she wasn't 40 yet, so no, we're not going to do it. Now, she had 3 little girls at home, so her experience, although similar to mine, was much different. She was younger, she had a family, she wasn't nearly as ornery. They did her, I can't remember if they did her surgery first. I think they did. But she actually had a full mastectomy and new ones installed because she had a bigger spot and it was in her lymph nodes by now. Had they caught it when she asked them to, she probably would have been golden like I was, but they had let it go and it grew at a 60% rate. She went through chemo. She only made it through, I think, 5 of the 12 rounds of the same chemo I had. It almost killed her. Then she did the radiation. And then she was on some other chemo drug for like a year after that, every 3 weeks, that made her very sick and made her miserable. The same stuff they wanted to put me through, but I wouldn't do it. But she not only did that, bless her heart, she volunteered to be a guinea pig for a test trial for a vaccine that would help women that do get this cancer. If they get the vaccine, they won't get it again. So she did all that. So she was a victim or a patient for like 2.5 years. She went through that. And at the same time, working full time, raising those beautiful girls, And just to tell you a little bit about my other daughter, the oldest one, she did not have cancer, any sign of it, but, and by the way, my daughter and I did not have the gene. So it was just a fluke that we both got the exact same cancer at the same time. But my other daughter, she went in and somehow or another got the insurance company to pay for a double mastectomy and a new set of tatas just because we both had cancer. She's like, I'm messing around. She's a very to the point kind of gal. She wasn't going to mess around. But yeah, I've been cancer-free for almost 6 years. My daughter that had cancer has been cancer-free for over 5 years. We're doing great. We're healthy. We're happy. We're joyful. But it has led me to be very untrusting of the medical system. And so when the pandemic hit, no, I didn't get the vaccine. No, I didn't, do all the things. I felt like it was just another money grab. And that's just me. That's just me. I know the pandemic is real. I know people were sick. I know people died. I'm not saying that was not real. I'm just saying for me, after going through what I went through, I wasn't going to let them test trial me on a new vaccine. So that was just me. But Anyway, that's my story of cancer and how it changed me. And so let's end on a happy note, because that's what we do, right? It has made me so much more appreciative of life. I know I went through some depression about 18 months, 2 years ago. But living through what I lived through, with the liver failure and then the cancer, made me even more impulsive than and selling the house and buying an RV, because I just want to live the life I've got. I don't want to sit around and wait, because nobody's promised tomorrow. So live your best life. Do what you want to do. Take that trip. Hug that dog. Kiss that man. And have a good one.